Hello everyone, once again, and welcome back to PAX and Recreation. And today we are continuing our crazy saga with Commander stuff and going for Commander Anthology Volume 2. So Commander Anthology Volume 2 is, well, the second volume. It was part of the 25th anniversary of Magic the Gathering. That was a better anniversary than the one we had for the 30th. And the logic is pretty much the same as the first anthology. So what we have here is a box of 4 commander decks, and each commander deck is from a different time in Magic the Gathering. Now, this one was launched in 2018, so it was the year right after the original Commander Anthology, and it was great as well, and we're going to see how it was retrospectively and nowadays. This is a lot more popular because it contains one deck that a lot of people like and consider the best precon ever made, which is even weirder that Wizard included it here, although it was from the previous year, so I guess that was the reasoning. They were like, people you can just get it from stores and stuff like that. Nowadays, it will be unthinkable. Now, there is a little change here that is kind of weird, and you have 4 commander decks, 13 foil premium legendary cards, so there's a lot more foils here because it is a lot around the more normal current standard of commander decks having 3 foils at least during that era. So in the previous Commander Anthology, which link somewhere, you had stuff such as 1 foil per deck because that was the norm, and even though they were reprinting, they were like, just 1 foil per deck. We are not giving away premium cardboard. Do you think that all cardboard is cheap for us? We just make trillions of cards a year, so no. But here, in this case, you have Devour for Power, Wade into Battle, Build from Scratch, and Breed Lethality. The big difference is the foils. Then you have the premium deck boxes. There is a different color. You can only imagine every year getting an anthology with different colors and like yellow and blue and all that, and just having the time of your life. 4 specialized life contests, which are pretty much the same as last time, 80 tokens, and a rules insert. Now, the funny thing is that the rules insert, the tokens are all scrambled around, and I will show you in a second. Let's try to open this the same way we opened the last one, which is like a scaredy cat, praying and hoping for it to be done in a good way, on camera, and, wish me luck. So, let's go. Trusty cutter. Let's see. Technically, this one should be easier because I can see the space between. If not, then maybe just make the blade longer. That certainly will help and not make me more nervous in any way whatsoever. And just move it like butter around. By the way, if you do this, and don't make the blade too long, because if you make it too long, it will scratch the bottom of the box. And you may be thinking, well, that's the talk of a paranoid man. I'm like, well, if you're watching a Magic the Gathering unboxing channel and all other board games and just unboxings in general about a crazy man that just opens them in camera and talks about his hobbies, you're no better, okay? But but actually, you know how this is. My philosophy with this type of stuff is, well, you don't have to do this sort of crazy thing, to be honest, but why buying expensive stuff such as this and not taking the care to take care of it? Isn't it kind of wasting money? Like, my philosophy, and this is more of a personal thing, everyone does with their money whatever they want because it's your money, because you earned it, or you stole it, but let's hope that you earned it, is that as long as you enjoy it, no one can judge you, and as long as you're not hurting anyone with your hobby, that's okay as well. But my philosophy is, if I worked for something, to buy something, I want to preserve it. I want to keep it in a nice condition because I like the stuff I buy. I don't buy stuff just for the way. You can see that I have cats, so there you go. I don't buy stuff just for the sake of it. I like it, so I want to preserve it. That's kind of the logic. And if you're a card collector, or you just like board games and stuff, then you know this feeling, because half of the battle is preserving your cards. So there you go. Now, this one is actually better than the first one. Let's turn it around. The wrapper never gets like 100%. It doesn't retain the shape 100%, but it still gets there and protects the contents. So there you go. And there's this life counter always jumps around. Is a thing. So let me put this closer to us and let's see Commander Anthology 2. So same life counter, same material, same weird marks. So yeah, get accustomed to it, I guess. That's why I say that this is not a premium product. It wants to feel like a premium product, but it's not. So the decks, Devour for Power, 3 colors, Build from Scratch, 1 color, Wade into Battle, 2 colors, and Breathe Vitality, 4 colors. We can only imagine that in an ideal world, the Commander Anthology 3 was more like the Commander Masters decks. So one was a Planeswalker deck, the other was enchantments or whatever, the other was colorless, and the other was 5 colors. And one is Slivers, and the other is Eldrazi, see? So the Commander Masters, obviously, if they sell it separately, they can just charge you separately, but in an ideal world, the Commander Master decks will be something like this. 4 different in a single box, like, nostalgia feeling, premium feeling, because it's stuff from other eras of Magic, like Commodore Goff. That's a very old character that only a few people know about. And even in that deck, there's even Vronox, or I don't remember how the Planeswalker is called. Vonox? Vonox? I don't remember. That Planeswalker it was your avatar in Duels of the Planeswalkers for consoles, and has a Planeswalker card finally after, but the character is dead because Garrus killed him. But like, that's for nostalgia's sake. And then you have the only enchantment color pairing that was missing, and then you have Eldrazi's and Slivers. So there's a bunch of stuff that will be great. However, it didn't happen. So we have what we have in hand, the second attempt at this. So let's see. Wade into Battle is the first one. By the way, this is the premium box. Not much of a premium box. So the fun thing about these Commander decks, and well, it's fun for me at least, is that the tokens are not properly distributed. So you maybe think when you buy this and you see the box that the tokens are in the middle or something. They are not. It's just a pamphlet, which is kind of a waste of space, but they are in the deck. However, in Commander Anthology 2, the tokens do not match the deck that we are looking at, and you will see in a second. So you need to actually change them between decks, which is kind of very weird. Let's see, the commander for this deck is Kalemne, Disciple of Iroas. For 2, 1 red, 1 white, is a giant soldier that has double strike and vigilance, and whenever you cast a creature spell with converted mana cost 5 or greater, you get an experience counter, and he gets +1/+1 for each experience counter you have. So it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it makes sense because it's a giant, get it? So double strike and vigilance, not that bad. Let's see how the deck is configured. You can see that compared to the first Commander Legends, first we have at least one other foil, and second, the order is more like the order that we have right now. So the 2 co-commanders go here, and then you have the stuff, and then, well, they put the lands because, yeah. So they keep changing the order, which I find interesting. How they decide that? Like, is there an order for that? Or Anya, Merciless Angel, for 3 and 1 red and 1 white, is a legendary creature angel with flying, and gets +2/+3 for each opponent whose life total is less than half their starting life total. And as long as an opponent's life total is less than half their starting life total, Anya has Indestructible. So for a co-commander, this is very good. And Gisela, but this is Gisela, Blade of Gold Knight, which is a angel for 4, 1 red and 2 white, so very expensive, 5/5. It has first strike and flying. And if a source will deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, that source deals double that damage of that player's to the player or permanent instead. And if a source will deal damage to you or a permanent you control, prevent half that damage rounded up. So this is very good, very expensive, but very good. Banishing Light with what I can only assume is Simon Belmont in the art world. I always thought that you can't. I find it funny that this enchantment is here and only this enchantment, and then we go into lands. So good old basic lands. Let's see what the mana base is here. I'm expecting something crazy. If a memory doesn't fail me, this is one of the first commander decks as well, the precons. So because there's always in these two products, there's always one from the beginning, one from the previous year, and then the other two are kind of scattered. Planes, and there you go. That's all the mana, the basic lands, all that stuff is basic lands. So you can tell the mana base is not going to be crazy because it doesn't appear to have like too many double lands or anything like that. But let's see. Crib Swap creates it's a changeling, and its controller creates a shapeshifter with the creature token with changeling. So there you go. Downglare Invoker, which is kind of okay. Fate's Fetters. Fate's Fetters. Herald of the Host. Or Esco's Explorer. I mean, you can see that so far they are going backwards in rarity, like if it's a booster, all commons apparently. And now we switch to uncommons. So Breath, Darigas, Chorus of the Nightly Hunt, Nightly Hunt, yeah. This is basically combat. The whole theme of this deck is do damage, fight, combat, get bigger. Do damage, fight, combat, get bigger. Apparently, the order is not that, it's per color, apparently, or per type of creature, because creatures, I don't know. Giant spells you cast cost 2 less to cast, so there's some sort of a giant tribal going on here. Stone Shock Giant. The problem with giants is that they are very expensive because they are giants, so you need to get support for it, and angels as well. So Angel of Serenity, another giant wizard. So this is a giant tribal, but with some angels into the mix, which is weird because the commander is not an angel, it's just a giant. But if you use any of the other two cards that can be a commander, those are angels. So it's either giants or angels, which is the name of a dual deck for sure. Dawnbreak Reclaimer, which is a card that is in your graveyard, and the player chooses a creature card in your graveyard. You may return those cards, so balance and justice, very white everything. Jareth Leonin Titan blocks, it gets +7/+7 at the end of turn, because what a shield, am I right? It's protection from the color of your choice. It's very expensive. You can manage to pull this card into the battlefield sooner, but it's just very expensive. Vigilance, Giant Soldier, Monstrosity. Oh, this is when we had the Monstrosity mechanic. Man, I forgot about that. If this creature isn't monstrous, put 3+1/+1 counters on it and it becomes monstrous. Which is like, okay. Sun Titan. Oh, good old Sun Titan. Whenever Sun Titan enters the battlefield or attacks, you may return target permanent card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Good old Sun Titan. Victory's Herald. So the deck is like, let's get there and smash stuff, but at the same time, it's kind of all over the place because it's like, so I have giants and angels. Thank you, I guess. It's kind of, well, there's a dragon, because there's not a theme per se. It's like the themes are each color's theme. It's like, oh, you're white. Okay, so white is like damage to both. Okay. Oh, you're red. Okay, so red is I do damage to you and I have haste, right? And there you go. And it's like, okay. I mean, the name of the deck is, after all, Wade into Battle. So is battle. So it makes sense in my head, but it's very basic as a deck, and the commander is not that crazy. One of the co-commanders can be kind of crazy, but overall it's just like, giants, angels for some reason, and and some other weird stuff that just gets in there and does damage. And this feels like a deck that you will make when you are starting to play Magic and you're like, okay, I like giants and I like angels, I like big things and I like things with wings, and I have cards from these two colors. I want to do it red white, and that's the thing. There are a couple of cards that is like other giants you control, right? So there is some tribalism going on, or sorry, typism, but not that much, to be honest. So it's not that crazy of a deck. You can have a fun time playing it. I am pretty sure of it. But it's kind of all over the place. Oh, now we're putting the crazy lands. Well, this is funny. You reveal a giant card from your hand. If you don't, it enters tapped. So this card is very good for this deck. It's actually very, very good. It's not like super crazy good because it's not all giants, but I guess it's good that it's not all giants, because if someone has a card that is like, say, a type of creature, that type of creature can attack or something like that, you're kind of F, right? But Boros Signet, Boros Cluestone, Boros. This is a Boros deck, my friends. Cold Steel Heart. Indestructible, 1 mana of any color, so a lot of, well, the Flower Stone, okay, well, there are some staples here and some good cards, because this was one of the first Commander decks, so that's the reason why they are not, Lightning Graves, Mind Stone, Sandstone Oracle, good old Sol Ring, Thought Vessel, Worn Power Stone, Interstapped, which is kind of bad, and Blasted Landscape. And then now you have the Boros lands. So Boros Garrison, Boros Guildgate, all tap lands. Command Tower, Drifting Meadow, Evolving Wilds, and then some useful lands, like with cycling, because it's useful to have options, I guess. Terramorphic Expanse, Vivid Crag, and the equivalent, I guess, which is Vivid Meadow, exactly, part of the cycle. Windscarred Crag, which is just the two things, and then the tokens. Now, I didn't read all the cards in detail, but you can tell that there is some of these that is like, this doesn't match. I don't remember there is any card that creates this much Saprolinks and this many amount of mirrors, because this deck is not green. So I don't know how they messed this up. It's kind of funny to me to imagine the process. One of my biggest curiosities regarding Magic the Gathering is how they decide, or why they decide, to change the order of cards in a booster or something like that, right? Like, I don't know. Sometimes you open a booster and cards come in a certain order. Sometimes they come in a different order. Sometimes they come backwards. I don't know. Built from scratch. This is the mono red deck. So you have one Boros. This is a mono red with a Planeswalker, which is something very similar to what happened on the previous Commander Anthology with the mono green deck, right? So mono red, and the commander is a Planeswalker Goblin. You can imagine where this is going. We're going to a land of pain and explosions and things like that. Dareti, Scrap Savant, Planeswalker, Dareti. +2, discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards. -2, sacrifice an artifact. If you do, return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And -10, to get an emblem with, whenever an artifact is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, return that card to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. Which is okay, I guess. So this is red and artifacts. And there you go, the co-commander is Bosch Iron Golem, a 8 6/7 golem with trample, and 3 and 1 red, sacrifice an artifact, and deals damage equal to the sacrifice artifact compared to mana cost. Kind of okay, I guess. And Feldon of the third path for 1 and 2 red is a human artificer. For 2 and 1 red, and you tap it, you create a token that's a copy of target creature card in your graveyard, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. It gains haste, sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step. More useful, I will say. So you have multiple options to be your commander. That's interesting. Is a lot more flexible because the other decks didn't. The culture wasn't like that in the other Commander Anthology, but here it's like, well, you can either go giants, but this is kind of neutral. It's just a giant, but the card is neutral itself. You can go life totals, or you can go damage. So it's all damage. So either you get bigger, or you get +3. You play with life totals, or you prevent damage. So that's like the play here, and it's all Boros. But here is all mono red, and is basically you either planeswalk around artifacts, you just have a giant artifact that goes boom boom and sacrifices artifacts, or you can just copy stuff from your graveyard that also becomes an artifact. So that's kind of the play. And it's very interesting that there is such the beautiful thing about Commander is that your entire strategy can change based on who is your commander. But when it is a precon, which is like, starter kit for you to play Commander, I love it when Wizards does it like this, because it's like, well, you can choose different strategies. The deck will work, right? And it's like, yes, thank you, Wizards. It's like you get 3 decks for the price of 1. That also means that the deck is not very good at one thing. It's kind of good or kind of okay at 3 different things. But when the 3 different cards kind of had things in common, the deck can be good overall, and you just change your strategy over it, which is something that I like. So let's see. Goblins. I love it that there's just like one card that's like goblins, and then is all the lands in the world. All the lands in the world, which is mono red. So there's the mana base. You can already see where this is going. Jeez, I hate when that happens. Okay, so let's see. Faithless Looting. Draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards. There is a lot of draw cards. Prevent damage. It's a Kavu. Destroy target artifact. Interesting, because you are an artifact deck, but I guess that you can kill your own artifact for the sake of, activating something. Spite Bellows. Whenever it leaves the battlefield, deals 6 damage, and it has Evoke. 2 damage. I mean, it's red, so there is that, right? Bottle Gnomes. It's okay. You sacrifice, you gain 3 life. It's like, okay. I love the art. I love the concept, but it's just like, sorry, what? Cathodion, which is basically a Big Daddy, and when it dies, it gives you 3 colorless. So, okay. It's just artifacts, right? So, Commander Sphere, which actually makes sense in this deck. Another artifact that gives you 3 colorless, and you can sacrifice it for 3 cards. It's very expensive for 6. Everflowing Chalice for 6. It has multi-kicker, and whenever it enters the battlefield with a charge counter on it, for each time it was kicked. And you add 1 colorless for each charge counter on Everflowing Chalice. So this may be good for a colorless Eldrazi deck, maybe. Bitter Feud. There's damage to damage. You can see the name of the game. Blasphemous Act, because it's mono red. So obviously this card needs to be here. Borgadan Hellkite, a big ass dragon, flash flying. When it enters, it deals 5 damage, divided as you choose among a number of targets. Funny thing is that you can see that it's mono red, but a lot of cards are just very heavy on the colorless, and you already seen that there are a lot of artifacts that just give you a bunch of colorless. So the strategy here, besides playing around and just being red and firing at anything that moves, is create stuff, call stuff that is not that expensive, which is the artifact part, right? So we're going to the red part, and we're going to the artifact part, and you will see. Goblin Artificer is very interesting because you can choose target artifact that player controls and target artifact card in your player graveyard, and if both are still legal, the player simultaneously sacrifices one and returns the other one. So this is very good for this deck. This is crazy good for this deck actually, because it's all... The dragons are kind of just here for you to have big things, I guess, but it has a destroy target artifact effect. Although it's kind of weird that you want to sacrifice a lot of your artifacts. Although, wait, well, they are creatures. You can also have artifact creatures, so there is a lot of play here around sacrifice creatures or kill a creature or something, or kill an artifact, and your creatures are going to be expensive creatures. So, and with leave the battlefield effects, as you saw. So that's where the game is, right? Each player exiles all artifact cards from the graveyard, then sacrifices all artifacts they control, then puts all cards they exiled in this way into the battlefield. Which is very good, because, well, you send stuff to your graveyard. So this is very black revival for artifacts, even though it's red. Kind of a weird deck. I like it. And the commander is a planeswalker, which is, like, I don't know. Tuk the Explorer, whenever it dies, create a legendary 5/5 colorless Goblin Golem artifact creature token named Tuk the Return. Tyrant's Familiar. There are a bunch of dragons here. I don't really know the logic of... Yeah, put dragons. It's goblins and golems, but put dragons. So I think someone was like, yeah, goblins and dragons. It's like, no, it's Dungeons and Dragons, my friend. Normal, see, like more dragons are like, I guess, because you get a bunch of colorless mana, so maybe you can use it for that. Split Second, as long as his spell is on the stack, players can cast spells and untap target permanent and gain control of it to the end of turn. It gains haste to the end of turn. It says Obey. Cage Sun, choose a color, creatures of that color get +1/+1. All you control. Okay, that's nice. Whenever a land's ability causes you to add one or more mana of the chosen color, one additional mana of that color. This is crazy good. Crazy expensive, but crazy good as well. Epocrasite. Nice. Whenever it dies, exile it with 3 counters on it, and it gains Suspend. And then therefore it comes back. Jalon Tome, which is just there to cycle. Return artifacts from your graveyard to your hand. Create mirror artifacts. So the mirrors that were on the other deck are for this deck, as you can see. So things are very mixed. You may tap X on tap mirror you control. If you do, the mirror battle sphere gets XX. This is very good for a mirror deck, this is not, ironically. But it's good for artifacts. Pentabus, also good for artifacts. Ruby Medallion. Very good, because it's monocolor, so it makes perfect sense. Solemn Simulacrum. Nice. And I mean, Solemn Simulacrum always makes sense. Is like almost another staple that you need. So in an artifact deck, even more. Spine of Ishsa. Destroy target permanent, and when it leaves, return Spine of Ash to its owner hand. So not bad. Still Hellkite. So big ass artifacts, because you have the mana for them. Discard, create a goat creature token, draw a card. Very good in terms of flexibility. Wormcoil Engine. Not bad. Flamekin Village. You may reveal an elemental card from your hand. If you don't, enters the battlefield tapped. So there are not that many elementals in this deck that I can recall. So Fire Diamond. Ichor Wellspring, Liquid Metal Coating is an artifact, so this makes sense. There is a bunch of artifacts, red and artifacts. It's kind of a weird combination, but I like it. The thing that I find fascinating is that it's all about reviving artifacts, so it really feels like the black artifact deck from Warhammer 40k. Mycosynth Wellspring, Mirror Retriever, so the mirror thing is a thing. Mirror Sire, Palladium Mirror. Oh, okay. There are 3 mirrors here. Not bad. Panic Spellbomb, Pilgrim's Eye, Pristine Talisman. Okay, then you get life, which is okay. Soul Ring, very necessary. Swiftfoot Boots, which is also another staple, pretty much. Unstable Obelisk. Wayfarer's Bubble. Sorry, what's the cost of this? For 3. Yeesh. But well, if for 7. Oh, this is not good. This card is not good. Wayfarer's Bubble. Just, kind of a meh. Because it costs you 1 and then 2 and tap and sacrifice it. Just search for a basic land card and put that card into the battlefield, tap. It's like, thank you, I guess. At least you can sacrifice it. Arcane Lighthouse, Spirit Ring. So there's a bunch of add colorless artifacts, and you can play with them to get your value, to get your engine going. Dormant Volcano, Forgotten Cave. Long time we no see of like mono color lands that have like an extra option so that you don't get bored pretty much. Because things like this, well, this is an artifact land. This is great. You can even kill your lands and call them back as well, which is interesting. Reliquary Tower, Smoldering Crater, Temple of the False God, another one that is a staple, and the tokens. And as you can see, there's a bunch of spirits, which I don't recall seeing any of that there, and germs, and zombies, and elemental shamans. Goblins make sense, and the shamans I think so as well, but the others, yeah, it doesn't make sense. So overall for this deck, it has good pieces, but it's a very weird combination of red and artifacts, and overall a very weird game plan if you ask me, but interesting nonetheless. Now, next one is Devour for Power. I would guess it will be Devour the Power, but what do I know? So this one is led by the Mimeoplasm. So, and this deck is black, green, blue. So another deck with 3 colors. The leaders that this deck has, we can put it here, are these 3, and then a weird card and then the lands. So there you go. Oh, the Eldrazi, okay. The Mimeoplasm. As the Mimeoplasm enters the battlefield, you may exile 2 creature cards from graveyards. If you do, it enters the battlefield as a copy of one of those cards with a number of additional +1/+1 counter equal to the power of the other card. Interesting. Damia, Sage of Stone, which is a lot more expensive because this is 2 and 1/1/1, and this is 4 1/1/1. It's a 4/4 that has Death Touch. You skip your draw step. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have fewer than 7 cards in your hand, draw cards equal to the difference. Interesting. You don't need to draw because you always need to have 7, so you can just spend stuff. But if you can spend stuff, then you're F, my friend. And Vorosh the Hunter. For 3, 1 black, 1 green, 1 blue, is a legendary creature, dragon, with flying. Whenever Vorosh the Hunter deals combat damage to a player, you may pay 2 and 1 green. If you do, put 6 +1/+1 counters on Vorosh. So, very different strategies once again. Obviously the commander is the Mimeoplasm, and I think this is actually one of the first ones. I don't remember the year of this deck, but after the Mimeoplasm enters the battlefield, if you exile cards from the graveyard, it enters the battlefield as a copy of one of those with a number of additional +1/+1 counters on it. So you can just copy stuff and be that power, which is not that bad, but this is all about card draw, and this is do combat damage and keep growing, I guess. So kind of weird commanders, and I hope that the deck has a lot of back and forth for this guy to keep copying people, right? For example, if you kill this and you become a copy of this, that will be interesting. Artisan of Kozilek. For 9, a 10/9 that says, when you cast this spell, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It has Annihilator 2, which no one likes Annihilator, but there you go. So the mana base has to be better in this deck because it's 3 colors, but I can already tell that it's not going to be something to write home about because there's a bunch of mana, basic lands here. There you go. All of these are basic lands. And now, Fact or Fiction, very good card. Reveal the top 5 cards. Rivalry, an opponent separates those cards in 2 piles, put 1 pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. So, Mole Drifter, draw 2 cards, so there is a bunch of draw here because that's the whole... this card can't attack unless defending player controls an island. So yeah, it's not even that cheap for it to have that limitation. So whatever. Spell Crumple. Counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, put it into the bottom of his own library instead of it going to the player graveyard. Put Spell Crumple to the bottom of his own library. So yeah, it's like nothing happened. Thank you. Bye. Vow of Flight. Flying +2/+2 and can attack you or planeswalker you control. Very good for party events, not so much for 1v1s. Like, it's okay. It's a pacifism card. Windfall, Wonder, good old classic art. Flying, as long as Wonder is in your graveyard and you control an island, creatures you control have flying. Very useful. I remember these cards that have names of fillings or something, and they work from the graveyard. Very interesting cards. Buried Alive, search your library for up to 3 creature cards, then shuffle. Flashback Marauder. Ew. Player sacrifices a creature, so this is good for you to cycle your stuff. Return a creature card from the card to the graveyard. One of those cards that Mark Rosewater thought were a very good idea. So, Nezumi Grave Robber. Exile, you pay 1 and 1 black, exile target card from an opponent's graveyard. If no cards are in that graveyard, flip Nezumi Grave Robber, and it becomes Night Eyes the Desecrator. And for 4 and 1 black, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So that's it's an interesting concept. At least I prefer to tap cards like these and not have to unsleeve them because they transform from the other side. So I guess there is that. Rise from the Grave, classic. Dreamborn Muse, that somehow gives me a vibe from a Gorillaz cover or something. Memory Erosion, your opponent casts a spell, the player puts the top cards of their library into the graveyard. Very good, unless you're playing against someone that uses the graveyard, in which case you are effed. Mind's Aglow, Riddle Keeper. Whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, the creature controller puts the top 2 cards of the library into the graveyard. Yikes. Avatar of Woe. If there are 10 or more creature cards total in all graveyards, the spell costs 6 less to cast. So, not bad. And it has Fear. This creature can be blocked except by artifact creatures and or black creatures. And if you tap it, destroy target creature, it can be regenerated. Okay. Not a bad card at all. Butcher of Malakir. Dark Hatchling, good art, kind of graffiti vibes, but good art. Straight target non-black creature, it can be regenerated. Extractor Demon, the thing that you have in your kitchen. Whenever another creature leaves the battlefield, you may have target player put the top 2 cards of the library into the graveyard, and then it has Unearth, Grave Pact. Whenever a creature you control dies, each other player sacrifices a creature. Okay, this deck is plenty of annoying. Each player exiles all creature cards from the graveyard, then sacrifices all creatures they control, then puts all cards they exile back into the graveyard. So, I will call it the Circle of Life, and not so much level that, but whatever. Mortivore, equal to the number of creatures in all graveyards. So this deck really plays with the graveyard. Which brings the question, because the blue has been like prevent and draw cards, and black has been play with the graveyard. It really brings the question: is this the best commander? I don't know. Obviously, you may exile 2 creature cards from graveyards. It doesn't need to be yours, and if you do, it's available as a copy of one of those cards with a number of additional +1/+1 counters equals to the power of the other card. So I guess you can exile the most powerful you can get, and then get the effects of the other. So this card is pretty good now that I read that detail, because I thought it was only your graveyard. But then, well, no, actually, no, forget what I said. If it's from all graveyards, now I am understanding what this deck is all about. And that makes sense, because each opponent discards a card, or everyone has to kill something every time you do to kill something. So your graveyard is a pool of stuff. The only thing that I'm missing, though, well, I guess that your commander is going to be killed a bunch of times because it will be a very dangerous polymorph. I am guessing that the only thing that you need to be careful with is just getting because it has a bunch of, is equal to whatever is in your graveyard, is equal to whatever is in your graveyard, regenerate, and all that stuff. So it's all about the graveyard, all about the grave, all the grave. So I guess my only concern is that your commander, you may need to regenerate it, right? From time to time. Let me double check this. Enters the battlefield. Yeah. So you may need to just, it will be killed a lot of times, because it will be a very powerful mix of things. So it can be even a copy of a commander, but to be honest, a commander is never in the graveyard. So unless the commander really enjoys being in the graveyard, in which case you just put them there. But it can be a very the original art for Solemn Simulacrum with the guy that won the championship. It looks weird, but it's nice. Triskelavus. Okay. Triskelavus. Signing blood. Basically, the strategy here is get stuff into the graveyard, be it yours or anyone else's, and copy it and become this weird thing that is going to be painful. In the meantime, you just play with your graveyard and everyone else's and just keep having fun, right? So that's the whole thing. Acidic Slime, Brawn, Cultivate, always necessary, Eternal Witness, Relic Crush. I guess that my only worry is if no one is killing your commander because you copied something weird. It's an expensive commander, so technically you have time to get stuff into the graveyards. But unlikely at the beginning of the game, a lot of people just sacrifice very expensive stuff because they want to get the thing moving. So I can see the commander being very dangerous and this thing helping. Lightning Greaves on that commander is very useful to avoid it being targeted, and that's nice. I guess that my only worry is if I want to reset the commander so that I can copy something else, I have to sacrifice it. Yeah, okay, it makes sense because you do have a bunch of card effects that says kill a creature and then return it or something like that. And you can do that with your own commander, so that's okay. And if you return it, is cheaper. So that's great. And no, it's growing on me. At the beginning, I was like, I don't get this. But as I read the deck, and this is why reading the deck explains the deck. As I read the deck, and I kept, going like, okay. So, plus I didn't actually read. I misread the card because I thought it was your graveyard, not all graveyards. So there is that. The Shapeshifter, which you need in the other deck. Birds, which you don't need in this deck, neither goats, and knights and spirits. So tokens are all over the place. Overall, not bad. The other two commanders are kind of whatever, but I'm going to read them again just because. So this is growing on me, but Damia is just a very independent commander, I guess. It has that touch, and you just are there, and you just keep drawing cards. So that's it. I guess that's the thing. It's very basic. And these, as a co-commander, which I guess is the idea because it's, legendary creature and it's foil. Normally the cards that are legendary and foil are the co-commanders, meaning commanders that you can use in the deck. It's kind of meh. This commander I'm to play, I may pay 2 and put 6+1/+1 counters on Boros. It's good because it becomes a 12/12 and it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. Very, very crazily, very fast, but doesn't have any protection or anything. I don't know. Doesn't feel like it's a good creature. I don't know if it's a good commander, but the Mimeoplasm, for sure. It just became better in my eyes. So there is that. And now, the moment that everyone has been waiting for. The one that's considered the best deck of all time, the precon at least, Breathe Lethality. And you may be thinking, now, PAX, hey, why is it the best precon of all time? And it is because of this lady right here. Who is this lady? Atraxa Praetor's Voice. And it's funny because this card is always on the top of best commanders of all time lists, and to me is ultra funny because we have been seeing commanders both in this video and the last one that have like weird effects, and the deck is built around those weird effects, and you know, and they are fun to play with because the effects are weird and you need to get creative with it and all that stuff. But Atraxa is nothing like this. So let's see the 3 co-commanders that this deck has. The daughter of Mommy of Machines, Atraxa Praetor's Voice, which is green, white, blue, and black, and is not red because Urabrask didn't agree with this, so he didn't collaborate it, he didn't put his part, so that's why the card is not red. It's an angel horror. Ironically, it's not a Fire Action angel horror, it's just an angel horror. And the card reads flying, vigilance, death touch, and lifelink. So there you go. That's why it's the best commander. End of game. It's a 4/4, and it says at the beginning of your end step, proliferate. So it has all the effects that your heart might desire, and then it proliferates. So yeah. Now next in line, and everyone is going to be pale compared to this, and these two have partnered because this was from the year that this became actually intentional. You had your commander, and then you had 2 co-commanders that could have partners, and then you had 3 actually. And this is the case. You had 3. There you go. Rayhan, Last of the Absence. So you had 3 cards that were foil and had partners, so you could partner between them. And then you had the main commander that was 4 colors. This was the same year as Stalwart Unity, etc. So I think, if I recall correctly, our decks were 4 colors, and then you had partners that were mixes of those 4 colors. So if you don't want to use Atraxa for some reason, you can always partner these 3 commanders in any way you see fit. So Ikra Shiriki, the Usurper, for 3, 1 black, 1 green, is a legendary creature Naga Wizard for 3/7 that has menace and says, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you gain life equal to the creature's toughness. So this is good. This is similar to that year that all commander decks have Eminence, so it's kind of the same logic. Ishai Ojutai Dragon Speaker is another partner commander that says flying and is a 1/1 that says whenever an opponent casts a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Ishai Ojutai Dragon Speaker. So good for +1/+1. You can see that the whole team here is +1/+1 counters, which is not very crazy, but you have Atraxa, so that's the thing. Rayhan, Last of the Abzan, enters the battlefield with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. Whenever a creature you control dies or is put into the command zone, which is if it had 1 or more +1/+1 counters on it, you may put that many +1/+1 counters on target creature, which is very good. It has partner as well. So the thing is that you could put them into partner in any way that you want as commanders, but ironically, there's no combination of 2 commanders here that is better than Atraxa, because Atraxa just works with them because Atraxa has proliferate, and they have create +1/+1. So Atraxa is just a mechanism that is there to multiply your tokens. The weird card that is left out for some reason is Abzan Falconer, a 2/3 that has Outlast for 1 white. And 1 white and tap it, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, Outlast only as a sorcery. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has flying, very useful. And now for the mana base. So it has to be okay because it's 4 colors, so they need to really step up their game. And there you go. That's all the basic lands that there are, not that many. So let's hope that by the end of the deck we get crazy lands to help us get the colors that we need. So Brave the Stands, Vigilance, and can block an additional creature this turn, not bad. This is a very attack-based deck. It's just get creatures bigger, +1/+1. That's why the name is Breathe Lethality. You're just growing into deathly things. Fun fact, Atraxa created a daughter, right? But she didn't have all the colors with her or all the powers to create a perfect daughter, and she created it less powerful than her so that she could control it. And it's called Scion, and the link to that commander deck review is there because it's same way that she was introduced in a commander deck. The Scion is introduced in the commander decks of Phyrexia, all will be 1. So I don't know, I like those trivias. Elite Scale Guard, so +1/+1s, So that's the whole theme of the deck. Or you can see that you have some blue to protect you, which is pretty much the germs. See, the germs were in the other deck, so things are kind of all over the place. Draw 2 cards, then proliferate, which is very good, and you can pay with life, which is amazing. Proliferate, because it's Thrumming Bird, and it's always there. Draw 3 cards, and delve. And then we go to, +1/+1 counters on black. Draw a card for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Choose any number of, double the number of +1/+1 counters on it. You see where this is going, right? It's not that crazy of a strategy, but it has support to get you cards based on the +1/+1 counters on it, and to defend you from certain things. So funny enough, this is a very basic idea of a deck. It's just +1/+1 counters everywhere. But if your commander is there, and your commander is very powerful, mind you, because she has all the freaking abilities that you may need. She's just missing haste because she's not red, but you're just going to proliferate. So everything that has counters will keep getting counters. This is very basic as a deck. It's like very simple concept. But proliferate is one of the most dangerous abilities in Magic. And if you have a Planeswalker, even more, because that also counts as a counter. Everything counts as a counter. Even toxic counters count as a counter. So you can, which is the whole mechanic behind Phyrexia All Will Be One, right? Which was create toxic counters and then proliferate them so that you get faster at getting 10 and killing your opponents. So this is not as refined. This is just +1/+1 and minus, right? But mostly +1/+1s. So Necroplasm is gets +1/+1 until the end of turn. Less power than her, and she gets +1/+1s. So you see where this is going. Like, this is very simple. And I'm not reading the cards into detail because, for one, the video is kind of long already, and two, you're kind of getting the vibe. Every card has +1/+1 on it. That's like, nowadays it will be like you going into EDH rec and just writing +1/+1 and get all the cards that say +1/+1 on it and just put them into the deck in a fashionable way. Kalonian Hydra, which is very good for this, and well, whenever it attacks, double the number of +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. So between these and Atraxa, you can imagine the craziness that is going to happen in this deck. Corpsejack Menace. What I'm more interested in this deck is the mana base. Where it is not just mana, the helping mana, the helping lands, because the deck kind of works, and you can actually improve it with a little bit of things here and there, because I think that the deck is pretty good already. I mean, everyone says it's the best precon ever made, in good part because of the commander, but because it's a simple concept, it just works. And you have stuff like this, you just copy stuff. It's like, oh, okay, I guess. Imagine copying some of the proliferate creatures. Vulture Zombie. These are the multicolor creatures that are crazier, and they're an Astral Cornucopia. X-charge counters on it, and this is all going to be artifacts about put counters on it, put counters on this, and every type of counter just multiplies. And now, let's see the lands. So these are flexible lands, as I want to call them. Is you pay 1 and tap and gives you 2 colors, so it's okay, but it's only good because if you have Sol Ring or something like that, that's 1, so you can get colors for colorless, and that's good. So we call them flexible lands. Then Murmuring Busk. You may reveal a 3-fold card from your hand. If you don't, enters by default tapped, and you can add. It's a shock land, but it's kind of a weird shock land. Another flexible land. There you go, shock land, which, believe it or not, is very good. And some people go like, "Oh, it deals damage to you." It's like, you have 40. It doesn't matter. Keep going. Destroy target creature or enchantment. Destroy artifact creature. So it has removal as well. Not bad. Exile up to target creatures. Commander Sphere, obviously. Darksteel Ingot. Fellware Stone. So it has a good mana base. Or at least decent. Not like super duper crazy, but better than most of the normal decks nowadays, because it has shocklands for F's sake. Not something that you see nowadays. Arcane Sanctum It's a tri-land, interstap, but it's a tri-land, which is not that bad. Basic land cycling. Well, these ones, okay, I call these ones step back lands. So they give you 2, but they remove a land you already have. So your advantage is more or less the same, actually. Dread, well, actually it's better, but it's still slower than some other options. Dreadship Reef, put a storage counter and remove X storage counter from it, and you get X mana in this combination. So this is very good because you have Proliferate, remember? So enters battlefield, Opal Palace, so all the staples are here. Everyone is here, it's like Smash Bros. Now you have a bunch of tri-lands, which is great. Temple of the False God, because of course it had to be here. Terramorphic Expanse. And then a bunch of mirrors, which are from another deck. Pentabytes, which I think are also from another deck. 3 Skelevites, a bunch of them. Tuk the Return, which you remember Tuk the Explorer, so there is that. This is all mixed. And some worms with different art. It has Death Touch, it has Lifelink. The emblem from Daretti, because, yeah. And experience counters, which you may need. So overall, I think you got an idea of which one is the best deck, to be honest. But as a product, how good is this thing? Well, if I had to decide, which, well, nowadays, this is kind of similar to the last time we talked about this. The message is kind of the same. Nowadays, I feel that a product like this is very good, very necessary, but maybe it's kind of pointless. I've been thinking about this between videos, and who is this product for, really? Because in my head, in my imagination, in my dreams, these products are really for me to like get, maybe I miss some precons and I want to get, some of that stuff back, and it's like, oh yeah, because I'm a collector, I play Magic, I love it, so maybe I want to get stuff back. Maybe that's the way I want to buy this. So these are reprints of an entire deck, and the decks are kind of good. This one is amazing, but for normal people, isn't it cheaper to just buy a precon that kind of you like, and then your other friends get it? Like, it's a lot easier to get. Maybe one of your friends already has Magic cards or has Commander decks, and then the other 3 friends just buy a precon, and it's a lot cheaper because it's $40. It's a lot cheaper than me going and buying this for $150, $180, $200 and be like, hey guys, I get these decks, right? Let's play. So to a degree, I get the point of this being discontinued, I guess, because it's like, who is this for, really? Like, for collectors, likely if you collect Magic, you just bought the precons as they came. But I see another side of it, which is maybe you joined Magic kind of late in the game. And if you did that, you missed this, and you don't want to pay crazy prices for the cards because, well, you just reprint them. But obviously, you know how it works with reprints and wizards and all that. So I don't know. I certainly wouldn't mind that we have anthologies. Maybe not every year. Maybe every 2 years. But being wizards, if they did it, they will do it every year because that's kind of their thing nowadays. But it can be nice if every year they launch one of the first years, then one of the middle years, another one of the middle years, and then one from the last year. That's a good value. That's a good pack. I mean, I wouldn't mind, but that implies reprinting stuff and etc. So yeah, I don't know. But I like it. There's a good balance here. This is kind of weirder compared to the other. This is not. In terms of colors, there are some things missing here. Like all colors are represented, but it's kind of all over the place. So you have combat, big things combat. You have artifact from the artifacts and graveyard and very red and a very red deck. So aggressiveness. So everything is very aggressive here. This is +1, miss +1/+1. So she's going to, breathe lethality. Haha. And this one is the weirdest one. And I remember, I think this is the one from the first decks, if my memory doesn't fail me. And it's just weird. I think that this deck just needs some mechanism to like, blink him and make him enter the battlefield again and then copy different creatures. But this is another very interesting time to have with your friends because they kind of work against each other. I think that there is one that is vastly more powerful than the others, but overall it's like very fun and very different strategies kind of thing. However, one thing that I've been thinking also is that if the anthologies are so different, like 2 colors, 3 colors, 4 colors, 1 color, and different strategies, this is more of a greatest hits kind of thing for you as a collector than it is for you to play with your friends. Because yes, it's different archetypes and it's funny because you don't want everyone to play with the same deck because it's kind of boring. But at the same time, it's like, really, like, isn't one deck more powerful than the others, and stuff like that. So, but the way I like to think about this is like a board game or a big ass dual deck anthology, which we may say in the future, who knows? Because I love dual decks with a passion. So I don't know. I really liked it, and I just love the anthology products. Well, these one and the dual decks, the Commander and the dual decks, not all anthology products. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think. This video has been long enough. You certainly are tired of hearing my voice, unless you find it relaxing, in which case I can just do ASMR for you. But yeah, let me know your opinion, what you think about this. Would you like to have more anthologies reprinted nowadays? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know which deck you prefer and what is the crazier deck and that kind of thing. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that diddly doodly that, because this is YouTube and this is how it rolls. So once again, thank you very much for your time. I hope you had a nice time, and see you next time on PAX and Recreation. Bye.